Yeah, I'll react to that, sure.
Guys, let's talk about mental health. So, I've seen SoGal do a video about this before. I've seen Eclectic Beard do this before, and my respect for both of them skyrocketed after seeing that. It's not easy to be so open when people on the internet can see your face and whatnot. But this is not a cry for help, plea for help. This is not really even advice. I just I want to talk about my experience with mental health, rhetorically, really. Not a plea for help. I have mental health, but I think that I am very much past the worst of it, and so it's really important to me. I don't understand why people are always like, "Have you gotten your physical this year? Oh, you should get a physical every year." And why there isn't a mental exam like there is a physical exam every year. Why do we wait until someone shows extreme mental stress and worrying mental health that we're then like, okay, go to a therapist. Don't tell anyone that they're gonna think you're crazy. Imagine being afraid to tell someone that, like, oh yeah, I have a doctor's appointment, my yearly physical, and being afraid of what others might think of you. I think this is one of those things. I'm gonna rant, guys. This video could end up being 10 minutes. It could end up being 10 hours. I'm just gonna talk. So, my big thing I advocate for is making mental health. In my opinion, mental health is physical health. The brain is as physical a part of your body as anything else. What we see as emotions or mental disabilities or whatnot are no different from how your heart pumps blood and stuff. Your brain performs these actions. All right. So, um, I've been a very socially anxious person my entire life. As long as I can remember, I've been a socially anxious person, right? Um, I want to say the difficult when you're really young and growing up, first, second, third, so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then middle school 11, 12, 13. Um, you really don't know what's normal. Like you don't know what is normal, and so when you have some sort of mental issue you might have, you think, well, everyone's going through this. They just found a way to get over it that I'm not, right? And as you get into high school and think more about yourself, especially into college and into your mid late 20s. I'm 29, I'll be 30 in September 3rd. Um and a giant point of me tackling once I realized that I'm just not like other people. Other people like to go out. Other people like to meet girls, like to um go to parties, to school dances, to whatever it is. The first thing I want to say is, in my mind, anytime plans with friends got canceled for some reason or not, or a school dance got canceled, like I feel like I was the only one who was like everyone around me be like, "Oh my god." Oh, of course. Like I'm the person who I feel like is like, "Thank God. Thank God." I and so I always had social anxiety, and it wasn't until I got some help in uh late sophomore year at the earliest, probably junior, definitely senior year. I started to tell my parents, and they could notice like something's wrong. Um, I my grades were horrendous. When I care, when I cared about school before I got any, attention medication that I needed, I was a C student, like I was a C student. Um, Sometimes I might get an A or a B. Sometimes I might get a D or an F, but I would say I'm a C student. And if I jump around a lot, I'm sorry. Maybe I'll edit into more understandable sections of me talking. I just have so much to talk about. But when I saw a therapist, I'm so lucky to have I love my parents. They gave me so much support. They still give me support. I still live with my parents right now at almost 30. Um I've lived with them ever since so St. John's University was 18, 19, 20. Took a year off. That's 21. Finished or got accepted to Providence College with credits. Started history. Studying history to get a BA in history, and it took me another 2 years, so 23, 24. So I'd say 25 years old was the first time where like I was done with school, right? And it's just because during college, when um like freshman year, I did okay. I probably had like do you guys know the American like GPA system? Um a zero is it's pretty much impossible to get a zero. Like if you attend one class all year, you might get like a zero. The point is if it's like um 3.0 is a B minus average, 3.5 is a B, 4.0 is an A minus, and like 4.3 was an A or A plus or something. A C minus was 2, C was 2.5, C plus was the later twos, and then if you had D's, you were in the 1 point something, and then F's, whatever. So I was doing okay my freshman year, not as okay my sophomore year. My junior year, I did nothing. I played hooky all the time. My junior year, um, I mean, combined with my senior, sophomore, and freshman GPA all together, I probably had like a 2.7, maybe 2.6, 2.5. But my junior year, I got like a 1.8, 1.9, 1.789 GPA, which is awful. That means that year, junior year, I averaged about it like a D plus. All right, so I was horrible, and it wasn't until my junior year, and my parents were worried, like, hey, you're not going to get into college or anything, and you clearly need help. And I went to see doctors, therapists, who diagnosed. I did like some tests, and they diagnosed me with ADD. I got prescribed Adderall, and then methylphenidate, which is Ritalin. I got prescribed Vyvanse, Ativan, bunch of different. So I've been dealing with mental health medication. I've been dealing with mental health, I think, my whole life, but I've been dealing with experimenting with different medications to help me since 16, since I was 16 years old, junior year. I was always kind of young for my grade. And my senior year, I got like a 3.0, And so like a 3.0 for me in high school was like a normal person getting like a 4.0 or something. Like 3.0 was a huge deal. And I barely padded my GPA as a total for my 4 years of high school because I did a 3.0 senior year, just enough to get into an okay school like St. John's University or Providence College. And when I went to St. John's, so I'm so grateful. I do not regret the medication. I still face some addictive some addictiveness towards my ADHD medication. But it pales in comparison into how much it helped me and helped my life and getting into college. College now. This is where like I would edit and put like, all right, next. College. College is where my mental health reached rock bottom. If not college, maybe maybe like 25, 20, 24, 25, 26. And so college, I was really confident because I had my ADHD medication, I had my antidepressant medication, and I was excited to do as well as I could. In my first year at college, I had a really solid GPA, probably like a 3.5. And I loved the library. But the crazy thing is, just like I was so lucky in high school, and I still in contact with both high school and earlier, like middle school, elementary school friends and high school friends every now and then. I have nothing to point at and be like, yeah, that was a cause of my anxiety. Sometimes I think I'm like, all right, did I have it too easy? Did I face too little obstacles in life? Was everything given to me? And so when I had to enter an area where I do stuff for myself, is that a part of it? But my brother and sister got it no easier or more difficult than me growing up. And they are not, my sister especially, my brother's very outgoing and he has his stuff together. But my sister especially, my brother is 2.5 years older than me. My sister is about a year and 7 months, no, a year and 8, not 10 months younger than me. So I'm always a little bit closer with my sister. But my sister, personality-wise, anxiety-wise, is the exact opposite of me. And so that kind of canceled out. I'm like, oh, what? Like, was I given too easy a childhood? Like, my sister doesn't have anxiety problems. She's extremely social, always made a lot of friends, and was in that kind of popular group when she was in school, and loved to take trips. And me, I got to the point in college where I was lucky enough to make friends, and I pledged for a fraternity, even though you're not allowed to. Again, guys, this is just me talking. This isn't a plea for help. It's not advice. I just wanted to do this. The more I talk about it, more other people might be able to relate. So I know a lot of people have it way worse than me. But in college, just to give you an example of my anxiety, is that although I had good friends, luckily, and friends in fraternity, I whenever I would walk, it was like a terrifying experience for me to walk from building to building, like from my dorm to the cafeteria to my class, because I had this insane irrational terror of like, oh God, what if I walk into someone I've seen and met before and I have to like dap them up and make small talk? And so I got to the point where I actively tried to not be friendly with anyone, like not make friends in class. Obviously, I kept my friends that I met originally were roommates or the fraternity I joined. So I had, like 20 good friends who I'd go out at night. But I would make it. And so, like, I put my headphones in, I look down. I do not try to make additional friends because for some reason, the idea of bumping into anyone and saying hi, that's you. 99% of you are probably thinking like, what? That caused you stress? Yeah, it did. That's what's so annoying. It's like when it got really bad, my late junior year, where I dropped out of St. John's and then took a year off with my dad and brother. We traveled around Europe. And then the next year, I took my remaining credits and put them into Providence College in Rhode Island and finished off with a history degree. But my worst is in junior year, where I would, especially aggravating when I would be ready for exams, like I'd be ready for a test to take, and I'm ready and I'm walking, I'm 80 steps from the building where my test is, and I would just get this panic attack. Not because I wasn't ready. I just get panic attacks out of nothing, as if like my body thinks like hey, if you walk into that building, everyone, your pants are gonna like you're gonna crap your pants right away. Everyone's gonna laugh at you. You're a loser. Yeah, not crap your pants. I never thought that, but like the worst scenarios would go off in my head. And I remember one time it got so bad, I was walking towards the class, and I just turned around. This was a final. This wasn't just a quiz. This was detrimental to my grade in that class. And I just turned around. My brain shut off. My body took over, and I walked back to my car, drove back to our house, or I shared with other roommates. When I got home, after I took a break for a year, and I came back and lived with my parents, like I do till to this day, to commute to classes at PC to finish up my credits. I would be afraid it would get to the point where walking out my front door, in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna walk out. 30 people from high school are gonna run by, who are like, I'm picturing are like all successful, and they're gonna see me, and it's just like I was going insane. I was going freaking insane. And another big one piece of advice that helped me, sounds harsh at first. You are not that important, okay? You're not that important. I'm not that important. And so I have this idea that I'm so preoccupied and being tortured by the idea of everyone thinking of like, oh, how is Connor doing right now? Does he have a big house? Is he married yet? Like, what's his job? Does he make a lot? And think about, now I'm getting angry. Think about how often you think like that about other people. How often do you do that? Never, almost never. And so there reached a point where, before I started my YouTube channel, which was January, I always had a YouTube channel on YouTube since like 2018, 2019, but it was just for watching stuff. Like I didn't put any content, but it was early January of 2021. Right. I'm a little over 2 years. And so like late December, early January, before I started my channel, I just like I started to get pissed off, not drunk. All right. Pissed, as in, I just remember being so upset and being so it sounds pathetic, but like, imagine you go to like an animal shelter and a dog has been like abused and beaten and left out to die, but they brought him, and you look at the dog and it's like super, like, just like, oh my God, what's like, just like, oh my God, like looking around, like that's the closest thing I can compare it to, pathetically, in that sometimes out of nowhere, but sometimes just like going to check the mailbox, or like just driving to the bagel shop down the street, or I just figured the worst thing possible, like, oh, ha ha ha, whatever, I do something embarrassing, I'm awkward, blah, I leave, and it's just, nobody cares about you in a good way. You are not that important, all right? So if you have any of the idea of what I'm talking about, and you get nervous about like what people expect of you, and like, oh my God, am I where I should be? Look at this other friend I had, or someone who is in my grade in high school, and look at what they're doing. It's like, nobody's thinking about that, all right? And that feeling is only crippling you further. And so let's break out the whiteboard. Let's bring it out. I love using the whiteboard. So this is the terrifying thing about oh, I'm not zoomed in enough. I'm just writing this down quick so terrifying thing about the downward spiral into depression and anxiety. That's what I need to talk about. But I want to talk about something first, which is uh um alien what why can I alienation from friends and uh phone calls slash texts. So um geez, it's already over 20 minutes. So this one and this one are my next two things I want to talk about. I kind of get a pee, but um so I'm going to talk about this one first. So, it got to the point where and I want to stress my friends are awesome. Like my friend I've been alienating people for many years now, but I'm beginning to talk to them. I want to say again, like a lot of people who have anxiety and depression and everything like I have nothing to complain in my life. I I was my parents were relatively wealthy. We grew up in a very wealthy town with a great schooling. My parents were awesome, obviously never abusive or whatever. They were extremely supportive. Um so my parents were fine. My brother and sister, you get in fights sometimes. They're awesome too. Um the friends I made growing up and in college, amazing. Never got bullied. Had a great family structure. Grew up very privileged. Went to great schools. Before college, and I just want to emphasize, like this is not. I have nothing to blame. Nothing. And so here, terrifying. Oh, and phone calls. Sorry, I got to the point where just a phone call from anyone but my brother, my sister, my therapist, my mom, my dad. I do not. I never answer. This is going on years. I do not answer, and if there's a text from anyone, text or phone call, that's not my immediate family or my therapist, I do not pick up. I do not answer. It's because I reached a point where I'm like, I used to care about like, oh my god, I have to answer or else I'm gonna feel even weirder and stuff. But I got to a point. I'm gonna come back to this, okay, guys, on why I stopped the phone calls and texts. Sort of a selfish reason. So this is a terrible thing right here. And my next thing, come to Jesus moment, and it's not what you think. All right, I'm probably the least religious person on this planet. All right, but it's gonna help me remember what I have to say. So, terrifying thing about the downward spiral into depression and anxiety. A lot of guys, for men, I know, maybe women, too, is that breakups can start super bad depression. I got to say, like that, there's nothing more like painful than like how you feel after a long relationship and a breakup. Awful, right? So I understand that, but that's not important for the time being. Terrifying thing about the downward spiral into depression and anxiety. This is why it is terrifying. Is that so? Let's say let's say, my God, I'm so zoomed out. Let's say that's you when you're starting to be anxious slash depressed, right? Some beautiful handwriting. So that's like level 1. It doesn't even have to be levels. So that's the level like, all right, I'm feeling anxious all of a sudden. I'm feeling depressed. You got to find therapists and psychiatrists and stuff like that. Talk to your family, friends, whatever. But the terrible frightening thing is oh God, you get what I mean. It's the spiral. Jesus Christ, I suck. Here we go. It's the spiral. And then this. I'll explain that later. Okay. It is so the problem with anxiety and depression and the horrific nature of it is that reasons for anxiety and depression often arise around things that you don't want to feel anxious and depressed about. For me, my big thing, social anxiety. That was my big kahuna. That was my issue. So, for instance, I'll use this, is that my depression and anxiety made me feel awful to the point where I wanted to engage in even less stuff, which now increased anxiety and depression, right? And now that feeling is even stronger, I seclude even more to get an initial relief from anxiety. So I'm here now. Guess what? The anxiety you have here is like tripled from here. So where does it go? You want to retreat more, and then more, and then more, and more, and more and more. And this, about a month before I created my YouTube channel, is where I was. So I'm going to talk about, trigger warning. I'm going to talk about suicide here. Okay, guys? So what frightened me, I am not suicidal. I have never been suicidal. Again, this is not a plea for help. This is not advice. I just think the more people talk about this stuff openly, the more people can talk about, what's different and how to fix it. So what was I saying? So I reached this point at around 2020. So around 2020. I'm not saying it had to do with the pandemic. Hey, perfect example. Pandemic. For me, it was like, I've seen memes for this, like a antisocial or a what's the opposite of outgoing? Like in a way, lockdowns were a anxious person's the hell is the opposite of outgoing? Introvert. It was an introvert's dream, okay? So it's just around 2020. I'm not saying it was due to COVID, right? But I reached this point where, and I'm going to mention suicide here, guys, so warning, is I reached a point where it, like, the depression got anxiety got worse and worse and worse and worse until I literally reached to a point where I cried, or I don't know if I cried. I might have, but where like I was frustrated. I took a walk down to Columban Fathers, which is across the street. It's like a monastery, and you can walk down to the beach. And before you get to the beach, there is um a you know a Jesus statue, a thing that's supposed to be Jesus on a cross, right? And look, I am not religious at all. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in Muhammad. I don't believe in Krishna. Don't believe. Pick your point. Pick it. I think that it's all made up. And so like this wasn't me like, oh, I had to return to Jesus, but in my mind, I just knew, I saw it, and I'm like, I know this is a person or a thing that people go to for when they need help. And no joke, I fell to my knees that one day. I think it was even raining, but I walked down there. I walked up to the Jesus on a cross. It's pretty tall. It's probably like 10 feet tall. And I just like collapsed on my knees. I didn't say like, oh, please, Jesus or whatever, or like, God, are you there? I don't believe that stuff. But it made me feel a little better, and it made me pissed off. Because before this, the idea of suicide, so for someone to be suicidal, I think you are suicidal if you are actively thinking of like all the time of like, all right, how am I going to do this? How is it going to be fail proof? I need to leave a note for my family. I need to do it in a way so like no one can stop me. Like what's the best way to do it? I can't do it. That's suicidal, okay? But what I'm saying is that I got to a point where I couldn't believe that I was feeling so mentally tormented and defeated that the possibility of that happening, of me doing that, entered my mind for a split second, all right? And that had never happened, no matter how depressed I had. And instead of being more sad, I got angry. I got angry. Because if my whole anxiety and depression is coming from my worry of how other people might interact with me or how I see them, or how I worry that I'm not far enough in life that a 26, 27, 28, whatever year old person should be, and I'm always thinking about like, oh my God, when I go here, oh God, what's he gonna think? And I'm just, the reason I got so pissed off is because the idea of an option of suicide entering my mind was the most illogical thing ever, and it pissed me off because how did this just enter my mind of stopping my life on this earth, when the reason I even reached that point was because I'm anxious of what other people might think of me. Well, if you're anxious about what other people might think of you, does that leading you to suicide make any sense? Why not just not commit suicide and live the next few days as if nothing matters? After that, my anxiety went away, or it was diminished tenfold, because I realized, and I bring up the Simpsons quote. I got to bring it up. Simpsons, not today, old friend. Okay, I've never watched The Simpsons. Okay, but I saw this clip somewhere, and it resonated with me because I saw it around the same time. It's kind of dark, guys, but I think this is for a good cause. So, one, the fact that there are people who do go through with it and get past the point I did, where I thought about it and then they continued to think, means that mental health is a giant spectrum, and there are people who had it way worse than I did. Because guess what happened to the people in the world who have the worst mental health issues? Like, what do you think they're doing? They're all dead. Okay, all of them. If you have the worst mental health issues in the world, you ended it. Okay, So I understand mental health is not just mental health. Depression is not depression, just depression. Anxiety is not just anxiety, all right? Every human in the world experiences anxiety and depression at some point. The point is the chemical reaction of anxiety and depression clearly are many times more intense. So I got angry about that, and this clip resonated with me a lot, and I think of it to this day.
Not today, old friend. But don't worry. Holidays are just around the corner.
Never seen The Simpsons in my life, but like this came up and it's just like, this is what I mean.
Just around. Not today, old friend.
He's closing up the bar. He's depressed. He goes to open something that he previously set up because he's clearly thought about suicide before. And this scene of him looking at it, being sad, and going in and thinking he's about to end it, and then coming out with a broom and a dustpan, cleaning up, looking at it, smiling, not today, old friend. That was the best message of like, hey, everyone out there, if you are so depressed, look, some people have schizophrenia and a lot of other things, but if you are depressed because of social reasons, because of expectations, because you got divorced, or you got to have a relationship, or you got bad grades, at the end of the day, the meaning of this is that what is important and should be the most important thing to you is that you were born on this planet, okay? Why let others' opinions of you, who they don't even have it, it's just in your head, cause you to end your life when you, like, in my opinion, like, I rarely leave my house, my parents' house, right? I'm no longer afraid of going outdoors. The YouTube channel gave me some confidence, but it's that, why not if your insecurities, depressions, worries are about to cause you to end it, how about you go another day and stop thinking about that stuff? Some people don't have that luxury, okay? I had the ability, like, I am confident that if I didn't have parents who were willing to bring me in when I didn't have a job at the time, to find me therapists, to find out what medication works, to talk to me about how I'm doing, not everyone has that. I don't have a family, okay? If you're a father or mother and you're going through depression, where you can't just say, oh, well, Connor's giving me advice. Oh, just give up. Stop caring. Well, you can't do that. You have a family to feed, right? So I am in a special situation where I stopped going to college for a year. I signed up to live in my parents' house and commute to finish my credits at Providence College. I got to stay up here, finally make a YouTube channel. Not many people have that ability. And so I understand the advice of stop caring is easier for someone like me than someone else. But at least when the thoughts of like, oh my God, that was embarrassing, or like, oh my God, I have an interview, or like, oh my God, I'm going to meet my girlfriend's family, or like, oh my God, tell it, just shut the shut the fudge up. Like, you don't have to be bipolar, all right? Everyone has, like, you can tell one part of yourself to shut up, right? And not be dual personality schizophrenia, right? Is that sometimes I see two sets of thoughts in my head, like Gollum. Maybe I am insane. Jesus. Of like one that is the ooh, don't go to the gym. What if you see someone there? You have to talk to them. No, do not hang out with your friends. One of my oldest friends from childhood, who I still talk to today, Topher. I didn't go to his wedding. I didn't go to his wedding. All of my other friends did. It's because it's like, no way. My mind immediately starts thinking, damn it, how do I go there? Instead of being a good, normal person and saying, oh my God, I can't wait to be there with my friend. I've known him forever. I can't believe he's getting married. I'm so happy for him. I think his girlfriend's beautiful and awesome. I love his parents. Oh, I can't wait to go there and meet up with new friends and, have some drinks, and it's going to be a great time. That whoever has that attitude, like my sister does, I envy you so much, because in my head, oh God, what if like, I mess something up, or like, what if like I get super, what if I have a panic attack? What if like, I don't get a room to stay, and like, oh my God, I have to get a plane ticket, and oh my God, what if I make a fool of myself at the wedding? What if nobody likes me? Like, what? All of that goes in your head. You're not important. You're not that important. That's a giant piece of advice, okay? You're not that important. If you ever think, people have their own stuff to think about how much you think of other people's failures or how they're doing. If you do always think about that, then you might have some problems. But I want to make sure there's not some stuff. Okay. Alienation from friends and phone calls, texts. It was after, so texts, calls would always make me super anxious, because I don't know. It just always did. If you weren't my mom, dad, brother, or sister, I didn't pick up. If you're not my mom, dad, brother, or sister, you text me, I likely do not text back. People on my Discord, I'm sure, can even know, even though I'm getting better. A lot of people are like, okay, don't answer me. It's like, anyways, with here, phone calls and texts. When I got to the point of like, I need to stop caring. I can't believe suicide entered my mind, even though not thinking about it, but it entered it as a solution. I got furious. And from then on, after that moment, I created a YouTube video or YouTube channel. And guys, you see my face right now. This would have been the most terrifying things I could do before I started a YouTube channel a few months, because I'm thinking like, oh my God, what if people are people aren't gonna like me on the internet? Which, by the way, I freaking love you guys. I can't believe it has shocked me. I thought, like, I cannot thank you guys enough how nice you are and helpful in my comment videos. I know I can be annoying, and that has been the most pleasant surprise. I love you. You guys are awesome. Yeah, just thank you. But I got to the point where I'm like, okay, that when I got to the piss point, I'm like, okay, whenever friends want to hang out, not answering. It's very selfish, guys. I know it is. But I justified the selfishness for the making me happy. I stopped caring about texts. Didn't answer phones. Didn't answer texts. If I lose contact with any friends, don't care. Not worried. Luckily, I haven't, because they're so awesome. YouTube, go on, put your face up there, talk. If people don't like you, what's the worst that can happen? So that's another big thing, is like, all the things you have in your mind, just think to yourself, okay, say every negative thing, possibility that could happen in your mind when you're about to do something. Say it all happens. Say, yeah. Everything that you think is going to go wrong goes wrong. Okay. So? And you stop and think, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of right. It's just, I got so tired of feeling like a tiger was behind me about to strike when I'm just trying to walk out my front door. How pathetic is that? I was afraid to be on any main street, as if a tiger was about to attack me, and I'm like, just, it was so bad, guys. And again, this isn't a plea for help, guys. This is not a plea for help. I'm doing very good. I think I'm doing the best I have the past 3 years than I have in my lifetime. I still have mental anxiety issues, but I am not at my darkest point, and I'm not trying to give a warning of like, oh, I'm really unstable right now. I just want to make sure that thank you for SoGal, thank you for Eclectic Beard. I'm not sure I wouldn't have done this if I hadn't already seen you guys do it. But this is just, I think, if more people just talk about their experience, then the more we can get on board with making mental health seen like physical health is seen. Hope you guys are all doing well. I know I talked a lot, but I've been wanting to make these videos for a while. I'd love to keep talking about this stuff. I'd love to do live streams about it, talk in real time. If any of you are, I'm not saying anyone who's feeling depressed or worried about prom and, and they got to ask someone out, or like you broke up with a girlfriend or something, or you failed your test. I mean, if you are seriously contemplating doing hurtful things to yourself, join my Discord and feel free to DM me. I'll answer you, and we can talk about it. Okay, it's something I think I have a ton of anxiety and depression, but I think very little compared to what a lot of people go through. Again, the people in the world who are suffering worse from depression and anxiety, they don't exist anymore. They're all dead. They all committed suicide. Because to do that, I can't imagine how your head feels. Hope you guys are doing well. And yeah, I hope this can help some people, give an insight into my mental issues and how don't be afraid to think about it, talk to others. And yeah, hope you guys are doing well. Love you guys. Chin up if you are not doing well. I would not wish this on my worst enemy. Breathe. Doesn't matter. You'll be okay soon if not. All right? If you're not doing well. See you guys next time. Bye.